The ACLU has long been synonymous with freedom of speech. They defended it from even the most hated groups like the Nazis, the Klan, even the Jehovah's Witnesses. It was never about what you were saying. It was about the liberal principle of your right to say it. Well, they have new guidelines now, namely that before taking a case, ACL lawyers should consider if the case might cause offense to marginalized groups, or if a potential client's values are contrary to our values. Contrary to our values? Your values are free speech.
Bill Maher opens by highlighting how the ACLU, once a staunch defender of absolute free speech, has lost its core identity. Once known for defending even the most despised groups, Nazis, the Klan, Jehovah's Witnesses, on the principle of liberty itself, the organization has now begun filtering cases through the lens of offense and ideology. Maher sees this as a fundamental betrayal. Free speech, he argues, was never about comfort or agreement. It was about the right to dissent, even when it stings. By conditioning their defense on marginalized sensitivities, the ACLU no longer stands for the Constitution, but for convenience. In a world already allergic to discomfort, the last bastion of free thought has started taking attendance by ideology. Maher's critique cuts deep because it points to an erosion not just of policy, but of principle itself.
I'm the opposite of what you always were. You have to change your name. It's become a trend in America these days, morphing into something completely different from what you were founded as, but still pretending you're the old you. TLC stands for the Learning Channel. They used to have shows like Learn to Read and Ready, Set, Learn. Here's some of their present and recent offerings. Cake Boss, Gypsy Sisters, Toddlers and Tiaras, Extreme Couponing, What Not to Wear, My Teen is Pregnant and So Am I. 1,000-Pound Sisters and Alaskan Women Looking for Love. And that's just the shows about the Palin.
Maher then sets his sights on the Learning Channel, TLC, one's a genuine platform for knowledge, curiosity, and intellectual growth. What began as a home for educational programming like Learn to Read or Ready, Set, Learn has mutated into a carnival of chaos featuring Toddlers and Tiaras, Extreme Couponing, and My Teen is Pregnant and So Am I. The transformation isn't merely about entertainment. It's about cultural decay. Maher sees in TLC's fall a reflection of America's wider shift from enlightenment to exploitation. The channel abandoned discovery for drama, substance for spectacle. What used to nurture intellect now panders to attention spans. By glorifying dysfunction and calling it diversity, TLC embodies the modern media's obsession with pandering, proving that even education can be corrupted when outrage and absurdity sell better than truth.
For arts. Seriously, they used to show The Symphony. Now they have Deep Fried Dynasty, Hoarders, Storage Wars, Ghost Hunters, and Psychic Kids. You know, for people who find the Learning Channel too intellectual.
In his next strike, Maher exposes the irony behind A&E, a network once dedicated to art, music, and cultural exploration. Gone are the symphonies, classic films, and documentaries. In their place stand shows like Storage Wars, Hoarders, and Ghost Hunters. Maher's biting humor underscores a serious truth. When art becomes secondary to clicks, a society's creative spirit erodes. A&E, he jokes, should now just stand for empty, a hollow echo of what it once represented. The network's descent mirrors the nation's own shallowness, a preference for quick thrills over thought, quantity over quality. What once fed the soul now feeds the algorithm. Through humor and frustration, Maher reminds his audience that when even art becomes disposable, culture itself begins to starve.
The History Channel has no history, and MTV has no music. I'm just saying, you can buy a petting zoo and turn it into a bondage dungeon, but you gotta change the sign.
Maher's critique broadens to other networks that have similarly lost their way. The History Channel, once a temple of historical storytelling, now airs programs about aliens, doomsday predictions, and conspiracies. MTV, once the heartbeat of music culture, abandoned actual music videos long ago. His analogy, that you can't turn a petting zoo into a bondage dungeon without changing the sign, drives home the absurdity. These networks still trade on the credibility of their old names, while delivering completely different content. It's a metaphor for corporate America. Institutions pretending to uphold tradition while chasing profit through gimmicks. Maher's commentary lands as both cultural satire and social autopsy, a post-mortem on authenticity.
Gay man on the cover, which I guess we're supposed to celebrate, even though it was 2021 and there's already a dozen magazines for gay guys, 13 if you count Martha Stewart Living. Do we really need LGBT representation in Playboy? There's a transgender teenager on every show on television except reruns of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Then comes Playboy, a magazine that wants to find masculine culture and the art of seduction. In a bizarre twist, the publication decided to rebrand itself for the woke era, featuring a gay man on its cover in an effort to appear inclusive. Maher ridicules the move not because of who was on the cover, but because it symbolizes corporate cowardice, a desperate bid for approval at the cost of identity. The irony, he says, is thick. A magazine built on sexual freedom now preaches political correctness. Instead of leading with boldness, Playboy folded to fashion. In doing so, it alienated its base, proving once again that when brands chase trends instead of truth, they lose both relevance and respect. Next voice, next voice. Maher continues by dismantling the recent shift in the Sports Illustrated,
which now celebrates all kind of bodies except, the good kind. Was it really such a crime against humanity to have one magazine once a year that was about finding creative ways for supermodels to hide their nipples? Now it looks like it's edited by the Huffington Post.
Illustrated swimsuit issue, once an annual celebration of beauty and artful sensuality. Now it prides itself on featuring all body types, except Maher jabs, the good kind. His humor masks a larger cultural critique. Masculinity and traditional aesthetics are under siege. He argues that this isn't empowerment but erasure, a cultural attempt to shame natural desire while glorifying mediocrity. The narrative now insists that strength is toxic and beauty is oppressive. Through sarcasm, Maher exposes the hypocrisy of a culture that praises diversity but punishes standards, pushing men to feel guilty for what they naturally admire. Next voice, next voice. Turning to Valentine's Day, Maher skewers a new narrative of self-love. Once a day for romance, affection, and partnership, it's now rebranded as a holiday for celebrating solitude. Be your own Valentine. The slogans urge